Hey, how's it going? My name's Nat. Let's see what's been making news. The federal government has made a deal with the Greens to pass its key climate change policy into law. Here's Josh with more.
That's right, after weeks of negotiations, we're set to see a new climate policy become law in Australia. So what's it all about? Well, let me introduce you to Australia's Climate Safeguard Mechanism. Yeah, it's a pretty weird and boring name, but it means big things for the country's heaviest polluters. You see, the Safeguard Mechanism is all about keeping emissions from greenhouse gas producers below a certain limit. It's actually been around since 2016, but it hasn't really been working. So Labor and the Greens have cut a deal to make some changes to it.
For the first time now in this country, there'll be a limit on how much coal and gas and other corporations can actually pollute.
The updated policy means 215 Aussie polluters that emit more than 100,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide every year will have new caps on how much they can emit. And the caps will be lowered every year to drive down emissions by about 30% before 2030. While the policy doesn't rule out new coal and gas projects, Greens leader Adam Vance says it could stop more than 100 planned projects from going ahead.
And what that does is it puts a limit on coal and gas expanding.
Meanwhile, the opposition says the caps could negatively impact the economy, and they're not convinced it's the right way forward. But the policy has enough support from other politicians to become law by July this year.
Taylor Swift fans have taken Ticketmaster and event promoter Live Nation to court in the US. After millions missed out on tickets to Taylor's Eras tour, around 340 Swifties filed a lawsuit against them for intentionally charging sky-high fees.
Power to the Swifties!
Power to the Swifties!
The disgruntled fans say it's not fair that Ticketmaster doesn't have competition since it merged with Live Nation back in 2010, which means they can charge as much as they want.
I tried to get a Taylor Swift ticket, it was $750. Then you had the fees on top of it, and at this point I'm paying $2,400 for 3 tickets.
Ticketmaster says there was unprecedented interest in the tour. The last known thylacine, aka Tasmanian Tiger, died in 1936. But was it the last one? Here's Liba.
This is the last video of a Tassie tiger ever recorded. You see, the species went extinct in 1936. But that hasn't stopped a bunch of people over the years claiming to have seen one in the wild.
Congratulations, everyone. We've done it.
Well, now, researchers say these sightings might have more cred than we've been giving them. They did a big study to try and figure out when the species went extinct.
So our goal was to take a serious look at that question.
They re-examined more than 1,200 reported sightings from 1910 onwards. And they reckon there's a good chance the thylacine could have lived into the 1980s, or even possibly the early 2000s.
We're not saying we've got the definite answer, we're saying here's all the evidence, here's our best guess at how to interpret it, and this is what it suggests.
And they reckon there could even be a tiny chance this mysterious creature could still be out there somewhere. But like a really tiny chance? Like, probably not though.
Now it's time to turn this dial up because these next stories are high performance. Nope, this isn't an action movie. It's F1 driver Daniel Ricciardo tearing it up in the Aussie outback. And he was randomly accompanied by helicopters, planes, and dirt bike riders. He's a reserve driver for Red Bull after McLaren dropped him last year, which will be pretty interesting as the Australian Grand Prix kicks off this weekend. And finally, to this soccer game in Barcelona with a twist. More than 92,000 fans took to the stands to watch the Kings League, a new style of game that was designed to appeal to a younger audience through social media and video games. It made use of special cards that give teams little advantages, like the ability to send off a player from the other team or having the next goal count as double. The match was streamed online to more than 2 million people around the world.
Emergency.
Well, that's all we've got time for today.
Emergency.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Emergency.
Bye.
Please remain calm and clear the building.